and welcome back to the Level Up Your Inner Power podcast, the space where we get real and down and dirty about the energetic principles that shape your reality and how you can consciously create the life you actually want. I'm Juliet Martine.
And I'm Danielle Flood. And today we're diving into another big one. Something most of us do, often several times a day, usually without even being aware we're doing it. And it's something that I'm pretty sure you will relate to.
What are we talking about here, Danielle?
Well, we are diving into the deep, dark habit that so many of us struggle with, the ways we negatively criticize and judge ourselves. Yep, here comes our next C word for today, criticism. And honestly, this one is a total beast.
Oh, yes, it is, because I have to say, if negatively criticizing and judging ourselves was an Olympic sport, I reckon most of us would be going for gold, because so many of us criticize ourselves without even thinking about it.
Oh my God, I would be up there on the podium with you, Juliet.
I'd be sharing it. We'd be fighting over the friggin' trophy, because we criticize ourselves for anything and everything, basically. It's all up and open slather. As you're listening, maybe think about the things you criticize yourself about. Maybe it's your appearance, the way you look, not being the way you want it to be, the size of your waist, your thighs, your chest, your boobs, the spots on your skin not being the way you want them to be. I've got to laugh about this because we criticize ourselves for the ways that we are, for being too much of something or too little. Maybe I'm too quiet, or I'm too loud, or I'm too young, or I'm too old. I'm certainly hitting that mark. I'm too old to try new things. We criticize ourselves for the things that we do or don't have, for saying the wrong thing, for not speaking up, for being a bad person, for having done something bad or not done something right. We criticize ourselves for not having said something. Maybe I haven't told someone I love them in a way that I could, or for not having asked someone out for a date, or the ways in which we stuff up, mess up, make mistakes, get it wrong, fail in ways.
Oh my God, there are so many. It's insane how much we criticize ourselves. It's crazy.
Not being good enough, smart enough, interesting enough, experienced enough, successful enough, qualified enough. We've mentioned that in previous podcasts. For all the things that we have, that we don't have. Oh my God, we could literally, and I mean literally in this instance, spend an entire day, probably week, maybe even month or years, listing out all the ways in which we criticize ourselves, judge ourselves, tell ourselves we're not okay as we are, basically put ourselves down while we're beating ourselves up. I mean, think about all the ways in which you criticize and judge yourself. What sort of things come to mind? For me, I have to say, as a younger person in my youth, it was definitely my appearance. I used to give myself a really hard time about the way I looked, about my weight, I hated on my boobs so much because they weren't sitting up perky and high. Too much information, I know. I got a really hard time in school for my hair, so I used to beat myself up about the way I looked with my hair. And then when I got older, I used to criticize myself for not being as smart and intelligent as my sisters because they were quite high academic achievers. And I just kind of, I don't know, I seemed to do a bit above average in everything but didn't excel at anything in particular. What about you, Danielle?
Never. Oh my gosh, I'm perfect. Well, I can say yes to everything that you just said before. I've criticized myself on every level of my being, but one thing that really has stood out for me when we were sort of working through what this podcast was going to look like is, for as long as I can remember, I've been my own harshest critic. I mean, for me, I danced competitively for many years, and so I started to notice when I was dancing and when I was in that studio, I never looked like the other dancers. I never had that straight up and down ballerina body. You know, I had the big hips and the thighs and the bum and the boobs, and I'd stand in front of that mirror and just pick myself apart piece by piece and convincing myself that I didn't look like a real dancer. And even though I was a great dancer, I'd always hide. I'd go to the back of the room, not because I didn't have talent, but because I just didn't want anyone to see me or to notice me or, more importantly, to judge me. And that kind of self-criticism didn't just stay in the studio or on the dance floor when we were competing. Once I started believing the judgment and those negative thoughts, it crept into everything. It shaped the way that I showed up, the risks that I didn't take, and the way I carried myself forward in the world. And it's one of those sneaky, toxic habits we all carry, that negative self-talk, that constant critic running in the background like a virus messing with our mental and emotional software. And the crazy thing is, we rarely stop to question it. We don't ask why that voice is even there in the first place. We just accept it like it's something normal, like it's who we are.
So true.
And for some of us, that critical, judgmental voice becomes such a constant companion. We don't even know what it feels like not to have it buzzing around in our head. And here's the kicker. We hardly ever challenge what that voice is actually saying. We don't stop to question the stories we keep telling ourselves about all the ways we're not enough or we're not good enough. And I'm not talking about what we believe is true. I mean the real deal, the absolute truth, the kind of truth that can't be twisted or denied. Because guess what? Most of those stories that we run on repeat, they are complete bullshit.
Did you just swear?
Yeah, I'm going to say it again. Those stories are complete and utter bullshit that serve no purpose.
And from an energetic perspective, because I always look at things from what's the energy going on underneath and what's the significance of it and what's the soul lesson there. From an energetic perspective, the energy we give out when we're negatively talking to ourselves, criticizing, judging ourselves, and the energy we project out into the world when we're criticizing and judging other people and things, you're right, it is so toxic. It is so damaging. It's so harmful in the vibrational frequency that we're giving out and the effect that it's creating. It's one of the most damaging things we can do to ourselves and for ourselves, because it not only eats away at our sense of self and erodes the energy of our confidence and our inner trust and knowing and our self-esteem, but on an energetic level, it also radiates out negative, harmful energy onto others in the world around us. And what that does on a karmic level is it sows karmic seeds of cause and effect that come back to us in not so desirable ways. So we're doing ourselves harm even when we're judging other people, because we're then blocking the very things that we desire to come into our life from being able to. Because we're constantly transmitting, or semi-constantly, consciously and unconsciously transmitting these messages out into the universe that, no, I'm not okay as I am. I'm not worthy. Who I am is not deserving. We're putting other people down, trying to make ourselves feel good because we don't feel good about ourselves in the first place. So we're not able to receive all the things that we say we want.
Yeah, so true.
So if you want to level up your life and live your full potential to really start to live a life you absolutely love, learning how to rewrite your negative self-talk and criticism is, I cannot express this enough, it is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself to really turn your life around.
Absolutely. And this one, Juliet, really hits me on a deep level. And I know I've said it before because, I've been through a bit of shit and, this inner critic a lot of us deal with. But this one has really made me reflect on how I grew up. And growing up, I just lived in this constant storm of criticism and comparison. I compared myself to everyone and anything. And no matter what I did, it just never felt enough, like never. And then over time, my inner critic got loud, really, really loud, like it took up a permanent residency in my head and it wouldn't shut the hell up. And because of that, I got absolutely terrified of being judged. I held myself back. I held myself back from speaking up. from showing up, from risking anything, because the thought of everyone else's opinions had the power to absolutely crush me. And then when I didn't hit my own insane, impossible standards, that self-criticism came in hot, like full blast with guilt, shame, and disappointment. And I would absolutely spiral so fast, like it was out of control. And my way out was trying to be perfect. Like if I could just be perfect enough, maybe the critic would finally quiet down.
Or would it be maybe that inner critic would finally shut the fuck up? You can laugh about it because I've just said that.
Yeah, you know what, Juliet? That's right. It can shut the fuck up. Absolutely. And here's the truth bomb. Perfection, it's an absolute lie. It's a moving target that's designed to keep us running, but we'll never actually catch it. You'll never be perfect in the ways you're chasing. And that's exactly where freedom begins.
I am nodding my head so much right now, and I think so many people are probably nodding their heads right now. Are you nodding your head?
I'm nodding my head too.
I'm nodding my head. We're big nodders here, because when we're in that space, any kind of feedback, even constructive feedback, it doesn't land as being helpful when we're beating ourselves up. It lands as being proof of all the things we've been criticizing ourselves about and all the ways we've been telling ourselves that who we are isn't good enough. And I'm only laughing right now because we've really been exploring this topic over the last few days, and it starts to, the more you lean into it and explore it, the more laughable it becomes, because we are doing so much harm to ourselves.
Oh, exactly. We really are. And what you were saying before about any feedback, even that helpful stuff, would slam me right back into a dark spiral, right? So overthinking, drowning in shame, second guessing every goddamn thing, feeling like I was never, ever enough. And from there, it would drag me into all of these self-destructive patterns just to numb that pain. And, you know, if I'm brutally honest, it showed me how completely fucked I was by the fear of being judged and criticized. And I was so caught up in it that deep down, I was actually so scared to show up as me, to be raw and to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not something to be laughed about when we reach that place. So I really want to honour those feelings. And as much as I'm laughing on the one side at the crazy things we do to ourselves and to other people, these things do run very deep and they do cause harm. And
yeah, they do.
That's what happens when we're judging and criticising ourselves. We then project it onto the people around us. So what you were talking about, Danielle, growing up with being constantly criticised, you know, that was something that you learned. It came from outside of you, from the people around you passing it on to you. So we all do it. We project it onto our children, onto our siblings, onto our friends, onto complete strangers across the street, and even onto people we're watching on the news on the other side of the world. And here's the thing, whenever we're judging other people or things, and this is a hard one to acknowledge, but it's always a reflection of the ways in which we judge ourselves. It's never really about the other person or thing, as much as it is a reflection of ourself and how we view ourselves, and all the ways in which we tend to beat ourselves up with a stick and judge and criticize ourselves. So why do we keep doing it to ourselves, Juliet? Yeah. Why? The simple answer, it's become a habit. It's a habit. Why do we do any habit? Becomes unconscious. We do it without even thinking about it. As a society, we've become so entrained to criticize and judge ourselves and each other that it's become a habit. It's become an incredibly powerful unconscious habit that most of us have, and we do it without thinking, without pausing to skip a beat. And in more recent years, I have to say, our access to social media has kind of put this habit on steroids in how algorithms actually encourage us to like and dislike and comment and compare and compete for attention. But I'm not going to go there. Otherwise, you'll never shut me up.
Yes, I know. And I kind of feel like all of our negative self-talk and criticism and judgments are a way of bullying ourselves, really. Every time we tell ourselves all the things that are wrong with us or not good enough, we kind of beat ourselves up and bully ourselves with constant mean thoughts and unkind words and damaging stories that cause us harm in a way we feel about ourselves. And that's the insane part about it all. We keep doing it, even though it feels so fucking awful. We just keep doing it.
You're right. And, I had a penny just drop live in the moment. As a child, I was bullied terribly at school. And that's where I actually learnt to beat myself up, by taking on that projected energy from people who were bullying me constantly throughout primary school and high school. I had such a hard time. And that's where I actually learnt this habit. It wasn't so much from my home environment as it was my school environment and my peer environment. So we do keep doing it, even though it feels friggin' awful. And the reason it feels so awful, I just want to take a moment to kind of go into the energetics of it, because it's something really significant happens when we negatively criticize and judge ourselves and the people and things around us. Our energy actually shifts, which is really key to understanding the habit in order for us to change it. So what happens is, as we experience things in life and we're noticing what's going on in any particular moment, rather than simply observing what's going on and saying to ourselves, oh, isn't that interesting? This is what I'm observing, with a kind of a open-minded, open-hearted curiosity, instead of staying in that neutral space of observing whatever's going on around us and within us and deciding for ourselves from that point what it is we like and we don't like, being in the energy of discerning what feels good for us and what doesn't feel good for us, and then simply making our future choices and decisions from that expanded point of awareness and connection with how things feel for us. Instead of that, what we do is we take that observation of what feels good for us and what doesn't feel good for us, and then we take it one step further. And we start to label the things we're observing or noticing as being either good or bad, right or wrong, acceptable or not so acceptable in and of themselves. So now what feels right for us and what doesn't feel right for us, instead we move into labeling things as being good or bad. And the moment we do this, that's when we shift from being the observer in our own life to becoming the judge. And that's when we feed this habit energy and we start to shift into a completely new energy, which is the energy of condemnation, which is why criticizing and judging things ultimately is something we don't like being the subject of, because when we start to deem the things we're focusing on as being inherently right or wrong, good or bad, positive or negative, when we start to deem ourselves and other people as being inherently good or bad, right or wrong, that's what feels so friggin' awful about judgment and criticism, because no one on this planet likes the way it feels when we're being condemned as being inherently wrong or bad in who we are as a person.
Yeah, and whether we're judging it in a negative way or trying to be positive, we're still projecting conditions on ourselves, on others or things. And that still does damage, right? Like seriously, even those so-called compliments like, wow, you've lost weight, you look amazing. That might sound nice, but underneath it, what it's really saying is you're only valuable if you look a certain way, right? And that kind of conditional love, well, I think that's just a trap. And all this judgment and criticism builds a story that I am not enough as I am, that I am not truly acceptable or worthy just being me. And the universe, well, that just reflects that story back through the people and the situations we attract, showing us the lies we've been holding on to that keep us stuck, that dim our light and limit what's possible in our lives.
Oh, so much. And that then serves to reinforce the belief that other people's love and acceptance is actually conditional.
Yeah.
That we have to meet a certain set of conditions in order for us to be liked, to be approved of, to be accepted, and in a sense for us to be acceptable enough for us to be safe. And those conditions, which, heads up, another C word we'll dive into soon.
Oh, what a surprise, another C word. Oh, gosh.
Those conditions, they're still rooted in this habit we all have of judging ourselves, judging other people, judging what's going on in the world. And let me tell you, when we judge something as being right or wrong, good or bad, black or white, it starts to sow the seeds of separation and division. And we have a heck of a lot of that going on right now around the world. A lot of judgment, a lot of criticism, and a lot of separation and division that is serving to germinate the growth of anger and hatred and what I would refer to as a state of dis-ease in our collective psyche. None of which helps sow the seeds of inner or outer peace, which is something that I think a lot of people would like to be able to feel more of right now, that inner peace.
We all want to feel that, but here's the truth. If we want more peace in the world, it's got to start with the peace we create inside ourselves first. And honestly, that means getting real about how often we tear ourselves down with self-criticism and judgment. And until we cut that out and start treating ourselves with some kindness and respect, it's hard to show up differently with others or the world around us. When we do start being compassionate with ourselves, that energy naturally flows outward. And that's where real change begins. No fluff, just real talk, right?
Definitely. And here's the other thing for us to realize is, where does this habit of negative judgment and criticism and separation and division actually originate from? Like, where did it come from in the first place?
Well, I could say something really inappropriate, but I shouldn't.
It comes from what we were speaking about in our last episode. It comes from our lack of connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's simply at the heart of our criticism. It's an indicator that we've lost connection with our inner self. We've become disconnected from the heart of our being, from our inner light, from the magnitude of who and what we truly are. And the crazy thing is, the more we judge and criticize ourselves, the more we get caught up in our head and the more disconnected we become. So it becomes this self-perpetuating cycle that causes us to become even more and more disconnected from our heart and inner self, and even less and less connected with the incredible light and magnificence and abundance and that radiant joy that's within all of us. If we dig underneath all the criticisms and judgments enough.
So true. So true.
Basically, the negativity we feel when we're in judgment mode, for me, it's actually the pain I'm feeling of the loss of connection I have with my inner soul self. And the extent of my darkness, of my inner negativity, is simply a reflection of the extent to which I've lost sight of my inner light. And I think of it as kind of being like a negative exposure of a positive on a photograph. You know, the old style film, when you're developing a film, you develop the negative. We're focusing on what we perceive as wrong or lacking, which is simply a reflection of the extent to which we've become attached to our negative stories rather than connected to the positive, radiant, light-filled energy of our divine self at the heart of our being. And in this sense, all of our negative energy is kind of a gift. And that's why I can laugh about it now, because all our negative energy is showing us where we need to realign with our inner light so we can receive all of the abundance and love and radiance we're wanting to bring into our life, which is a really helpful, constructive thing, right?
Absolutely. And you hit it right there, Juliet. And the more we get real with our inner self, the more that nasty habit of beating ourselves up starts to lose its grip. And that's exactly where we're headed next, because at LUYEP, our whole fire is about helping you unlock your full potential, not just leveling up your inner power, but lighting it up from deep inside you, shining that light out into the whole world and your whole life. And just imagine flipping all that energy you waste on self-criticism and judgment and instead using it to boost yourself up. What if every harsh thought, every doubt, all that negative chatter, what if that became fuel that pushes you forward instead of holding you back? Picture that energy transforming into pure power. The power that brings you joy, that sparks your growth, that fuels your journey by living your absolute fullest life, not as a weapon against you, but as your biggest cheerleader. I mean, how good would that actually be? How incredible would that feel? And you know I'm all about the feels, right? I mean, that would just be freaking awesome.
Yes, please. I'll have a triple whammy of that. Thank you very much. It is so true.
So the big question is,
drum roll.
How do we actually do this? How do we flip the script on that negative self-talk, the criticism, the judgment, and actually turn it into something that works for us, not against us, something that clears the way for all the good stuff life is trying to bring us instead of holding us back? Juliet?
We need to stop feeding the habit.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to stop feeding the beast. Not to judge ourselves for judging, because that would simply feed the habit more energy in itself, but it really starts by applying everything we've been talking about so far in our earlier episodes. It starts by firstly making the decision that you're now going to change this habit, and for you to fully commit yourself to that, to doing that, because this is something you actually want for yourself, and you want to free yourself from all the harmful energy that old habit is creating in your life. And for you to be 100% certain that this is absolutely happening for you, to have that certainty that you are in the process of changing this habit, because this is your sacred work. This is what you are definitely doing to bring about greater peace and love, not only for yourself, but for the world around you. And I cannot emphasize that enough. If we could all shift this habit of self-criticism and judgment by even 1 degree, if every person on the planet could shift it by 1 degree, it would radically change the course of our shared humanity forever on this planet. So this is super powerful and sacred work that we all hold the power to do for ourselves and the world we all live in and share together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And for us to then look at how can we bring consciousness, the consciousness of our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our intentions, into alignment with the clarity we have as to how we want to be as a person going forward. You know, do you want to be someone who is filled with negative self-talk and criticism and judgments going forward, someone who, you know, constantly is living with that inner critic on their shoulder? Or do you have clarity that you want to become someone who feels good about themselves, who has a positive sense of being in the world, who offers out more loving and accepting and caring and kind energy toward yourself and the world around you? And to then connect, the next C word that we spoke about, to connect in with your heart at any time you notice yourself starting to think negative thoughts or feel negative feelings that are to do with criticizing or judging. And as you connect in with your heart space, this is where we start to change it. Simply notice whatever the thoughts or feelings are as they're happening. Notice you're going into the energy of negative criticism or judgment, be it about yourself or other people or things, it doesn't matter. And as you do, simply become aware of the thoughts that are coming up as you observe them.
So just so that I've got this pretty clear, just by noticing those thoughts and really paying attention to them, you're already starting to change the game, like shifting the course of what used to be an unconscious habit, yeah?
Absolutely. And then accept that it's okay. Sometimes I think these kinds of negative thoughts. We all do, and that's okay. Simply acknowledge that it's just an old habit that you're now in the process of changing, and that's okay.
And so by doing this, you're kind of moving yourself into a place of greater centeredness and acceptance. Kind of like saying to that part of you that's doing all that criticizing and judgment and dissing you, it's like, oh, hello, old friend, it's you again. I recognize you and you're just an old habit, and that's okay because we're in the process of changing what you do. You don't hold any freaking power over me going forward.
And once we've done that, then we can level up the way we use our inner power of being critical. So here's the key. It's actually being critical in our thinking in terms of being discerning that is the inner power we need to access. So starting to discern what's going on for you energetically when you think these thoughts, rather than being critical of the thoughts, be critical in the way you're discerning what's going on for you when you think these thoughts. So you can go into your heart space and ask questions there. What happens for me when I think these thoughts, when I'm thinking these negative, criticizing thoughts, when I tell myself these judgmental stories? What happens for me? Be discerning. Does it feel good for me or does it feel not so good? Does it feel like thinking these thoughts, telling myself these stories actually helps me? Or does it feel like maybe it's doing me some harm? And even be discerning in terms of who or what or where did these negative thought patterns come from? Maybe, here's a shock, maybe they don't even belong to me. Maybe they're just habits I've picked up along the way from other people in my life, and maybe this isn't even my nature to be thinking and feeling these things.
Oh, yeah. Tell you why I love that, because our natural state isn't to stew in all of these negative thoughts or drown in these miserable, crappy feelings and all that stuff. It's all learned. And it's patterns and energy we've picked up from people and places and moments around us, not who we truly are. So here's a powerful move for you. When those thoughts hit, pause and check in with your heart and ask yourself, is this really 100% true? Like every single time? Is this some unshakable God-given fact? Or is it just a story I've been running on repeat in my head?
And does it actually serve me?
Oh, that's a good one. Mm-hmm.
This is the light-filled purpose behind the energy of our critical mind. We're meant to use it as our discerning mind rather than our judging mind. And that's the only error we make.
Mm-hmm.
Being critical in our thinking rather than criticizing in our judgments. Using our inner powers for good to help us rather than holding us back. And then from this elevated place of awareness in our critical thinking, we can decide what it is we want for ourselves going forward by, again, connecting in with your heart. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over again until I'm blue in the face. Connect in with your heart and ask, with this awareness now, what feels right for me going forward? You know, what new thought can I now choose to think? What new story can I now choose to tell myself? What new feelings, Danielle, you're all about the feels. What new feelings can I now choose to feel? And At Loop, we're all about taking action. So what new action can I now choose to take that will take me forward in the direction I want to head? Changing the habit, changing the energy going forward.
Yeah, and they are really brilliant prompting questions. And to support those questions, I'll give you some examples because if this is a new way of thinking, which it is for a lot of us when we want to change that inner dialogue, I find giving some examples will help. So if I was beating myself up about something that I didn't like about my appearance, instead of letting that voice run wild, I could choose to flip the script. So instead of thinking, oh God, I hate how my stomach isn't flat, I might shift it to, my stomach is a part of me. It's real and human, and it reminds me I'm alive and growing. Or if I was giving myself a hard time about getting angry and upset about something I said to someone, that inner voice of negativity, criticism, and judgment might sound like, that was just such a stupid thing to say. Why did I do that? I can flip it and say, that's okay. We all get angry sometimes. Next time, I'll just take a breath, give myself a minute before I respond. I've got this, and I express myself in the ways that feel honest and true to me. Well, here's one more. If I was criticizing myself about not being where I think I should be at a point in my life, oh my God, does that play out heaps during your life journey? And some of that inner dialogue might be, what's wrong with me? Everyone else has got their shit together, their life together, and I just must be broken. It's never going to happen for me. And I'll change it to, that's okay. Hello, old friend. I recognize that this is just the old habit of negative self-talk and criticism. Deep down, I know I am going to be okay. Everything is happening for my highest good with divine timing, and I am exactly where I need to be in order for me to grow and learn to take the next steps. So it's all about catching that critical thought and then hitting pause and consciously choosing to shift it into something that honors and uplifts you instead of tearing you down. That's the power of choice right there.
Awesome examples. And every time we make that choice, and we're going to get into choice in another episode, of course, every time we make that choice to change our energy, we stop feeding the old habit, we realign with the light within us, and we open ourselves up to receiving more abundance into our life, more light into our life, more opportunity and joy into our life. So I think maybe we might bring together all of those questions into a worksheet. What do you reckon, Danielle?
Yeah, I think that'll be really, really helpful. Absolutely. We should do that.
So we will drop a link in the show notes for today's episode so you can use this process and these prompting questions to really shift and transform the old negative habit of self-criticism and judgment and make it your superpower. Because remember, actually it's a gift. Every time you're criticizing, it's showing you where you're disconnecting from your light. So we're going to drop that worksheet into the notes so that you can start to use negative self-criticism and judgment as your superpower for inner and outer transformation.
So that brings me to our next challenge for the week, because we know we love our challenges. So this is to really get you to step in and catch yourself in moments when that good old habit of negative criticism and judgment is being activated. Make the decision for yourself that you want to shift and transform the habit so you can level up your life. And just simply notice the thoughts without judging them. And then use your superpower of discernment to shift and transform your energy in ways that you empower yourself to change the way you see and respond to yourself and the world around you by choosing new thoughts, new feelings, and actions that realign you with your incredible light-filled self and higher potential. So download the worksheet and remember, this isn't about being perfect and never judging ourselves or anyone or anything ever again. Needing to be perfect is just simply another form of self-judgment that continues to feed the energy of judgment itself. This is about becoming more aware, more often, and disrupting the old behaviors that continue to feed the habit and maintain the pattern of judging ourselves and others, and then turning that habit around to create a new habit that serves you even better.
Amen to that one, sister. And that is a wrap on episode 6. And if this resonated with you, and I hope it has in some way, shape or form, please share it with a friend or family member or work buddy who might also find it helpful. In fact, with this episode, we invite you to share it with everyone in your life, because we could all do with a bit less criticism and judgment in our lives and a whole lot more, a ton more, a shitload more of loving acceptance, awareness, and light. And of course, if you'd really like to change this habit and many other habits, we also invite you to go to the Luyip website. That's www.luyip.com, and join us in the Luyip Circle, our membership program where we get to deep dive into these things and so much more within a beautiful community of like-hearted souls just like you.